Welcome everyone, I'm Dale, and this is Cinema Historia. This week's film is a biographical film from 1956 called The Benny Goodman Story, starring Steve Allen and Donna Reed, directed by Valentine Davies. Now this goes through a lot of the major moments in Benny Goodman's life, and the story starts out when Benny is 10 years old. Now Benny has a couple of older brothers by the name of David and Harry, and their father hears that there's a music teacher that has instruments. All you have to do is pay for the lessons. So they all tally off to the music studio, and his older brothers end up getting a couple of big instruments, and the only instrument left for Benny is a clarinet. Now he's a little disappointed, but he's willing to learn and take the lessons. And good thing he really prevails with the clarinet, so much so that the music professor thinks that he should be studying classical music. Well, instead of sitting down, he would rather have his audience dancing. So he leaves the studio and joins up with the Ben Polak Traveling Band. There he starts with a paycheck and he gets to see people dancing to his music. Now after that, he ventures off into a few different areas. He tries to find his sound, even in New York, but with lukewarm response. But in New York, he meets jazz lover John Hammond and his sister Alice, played by Donna Reed. Now this is where the romance between Benny and Alice begin. But John asks Benny, would you like to play at one of our big family posh get-togethers? He decides it's a good idea, ends up playing Mozart's clarinet concerto with huge response. After that, he ends up hooking up with Fletcher Henderson, who volunteers to help out with musical arrangements for Benny and his band. That gets him a spot on the Saturday night radio program. Now the radio program is only going to be lasting for a few weeks, but what he doesn't realize is out on the West Coast, he gets a huge response and they start buying up his albums. Now in the meantime, Dora, Benny's mother, doesn't think too much of the romance between Benny and Alice. She thinks that Alice is high society. In fact, in the movie, she even says bagels and caviar don't mix. So does Benny keep his romance alive? Does he end up finding his sound and becoming hugely popular? This movie was not only directed by Valentine Davies, it was written by Valentine Davies. And how good was he? Well, in 1947, he won the Academy Award for Best Story for Miracle on 34th Street. He even used a lot of Benny's musicians from his band. They actually played and appeared as themselves in the film. Now, Benny Goodman played the clarinet soundtracks in the movie, except for the opening sequences. And in the opening sequences, Benny is trying to learn how to play the clarinet, and all he is getting out of the clarinet is squeaky sounds. Well, Steve Allen, who's playing the part, is a pianist, and he's trying to learn how to play the clarinet during the making of the film, and all he's getting out of the clarinet is squeaky sound. So that's what they used for the opening sequences. So, a little more history and a trivia question coming up next. So, what history do I have for you this week? Well, the Benny Goodman story begins its film in Chicago in 1909. So what history from 1909 do I have? Well, here's Bernie to talk about his pride and joy. You're on the air.
Thank you. The car is an example of the first year of the Model T Ford. Not the first Ford, but the first year of the Model T Ford, which ran with changes from 1909 to 1927. During that time, they made about 17 million of them. The number's not accurate because there were British plants, Canadian plants, and they kept collection numbers of the serial numbers of the engines. And they made extra engines to replace ones that needed it for maintenance. My car is 8,143. And I like to say out of 17 million. Now, there were 8,142 earlier than mine, but still about 17 million after. And as a result, I consider it an early car. The car is Brewster Green. It has 22 horsepower. On the level, it'll do between 35 and 40 miles an hour. It is not quick, but it's certainly a lot of fun. I can't go anywhere without getting thumbs up or waves from people. Yep. Sometimes I even get a finger if I'm holding up traffic, but that's life in the fast lane. I don't take the car on a 4-lane highway anymore. This particular car is probably the 7th or 8th Model T I've owned. And this is going to be the culmination of my collection. My age right now is such that I don't see another one in my future. This will be the last one. And it happens to be the best one I've ever owned.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much, Bernie, and thanks for letting me film your car today.
Oh, not a problem. Anytime. Anytime.
Boy, the brass just glitters on that car, doesn't it? Just amazing. So the trivia question this week, was this movie a follow-up to another Valentine Davies movie? Yes, it was. In 1954, this movie was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. And the movie? The Glenn Miller Story, starring Jimmy Stewart. Now, I have this movie. If somebody would like a review, just leave it in the comments. I'd like to give a big thank you to Bernie for his hospitality in making this video possible. We're going to finish off with a quick clip of Bernie giving me a ride. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope to see you back next week.
Morning, lady. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Isn't that cool?